24 hours later, I am back with you live on YouTube. This is the Solomonster Sounds of YouTube channel, and this is your NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver review, nights 1 and 2. We're going to do both shows tonight, as late as it is. Thank you for choosing me for your NXT coverage. Last night it was AEW Dynamite. Had to satisfy our AEW family. Figured we would just condense the 2 nights of Takeover into one big review. And I gotta say, now that I've seen night 2 of Takeover, I prefer night 1 over night 2. I think night 1 was the stronger night of the 2 nights. When you combine the 2 of them together, you end up with an excellent Takeover show. This continues a long streak of Takeover shows. Very rarely will you see a Takeover show that disappoints. And this one was no different. That main event that we had tonight between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. They did not put the NXT Championship match on last. Instead, we had the unsanctioned match between Cole and O'Reilly. That is the match that went on at the end of the show. Roughly 40 minutes was the length of that main event. Now, you can do a 40-minute match that keeps you on the edge of your seat, that keeps your level of interest, if the story dictates it. And there was a great story here going into this match between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. A lot of personal history there. It's always great to have a personal issue, big grudge match that you build to. I found myself, as we got further and further and further along in this match, looking at my watch, waiting for it to end. I'm sorry to say it, I like Kyle O'Reilly, I like Adam Cole. This reminded me of the Edge Randy Orton match at WrestleMania last year. Last man standing. That thing also went around 40 minutes. Actually, it might have even gone a little bit longer than 40 minutes. But it didn't have to. And I will say the same thing about this match that I said about that match. If you were to cut 10 to 12 minutes out of this match, including a lot of the kickouts of some of those major moves that we saw. We saw Kyle O'Reilly get dumped right on top of his head on the steel steps. And that wasn't the finish. You've seen this before in a lot of Adam Cole main events at NXT shows, and sometimes it works. Other times, not so much. Tonight, I thought in terms of the length of the match, it was a miss. It was not a bad match. I enjoyed this more than I did Edge and Orton at WrestleMania last year. There's no reason for this match to go on as long as it did. It did get to that point where it was dragging, and I know some people are going to disagree, and they're going to say, oh no, it was a classic match. It was a very good match. It was not a classic NXT main event. This will not be on my list at the end of the year of Match of the Year contenders, I don't think. I just didn't think as highly of it as I think some of you probably did. And that's part of the reason why I prefer night 1 over night 2. The match of the week in terms of both of these NXT TakeOver shows was Walter and Tomasso Ciampa. I thought that was the match of this TakeOver either night. Was that United Kingdom Championship match. I enjoyed that more than I did the main event tonight. And there were some really good matches on the show tonight that we're going to get into. We're going to get into all of them, in fact. And I'll try to get through night 1 as quickly as possible. Because I know a lot of you watched it last night. I will give my thoughts on that. We're going to go through the whole thing. Do me a favor, though. Hit that like button if you would be so kind. It does help the video out. We got a bunch of people in here. There's no reason for you not to hit that like button. So just hit that thumbs up. It takes 2 seconds. Super chats are open. You're already seeing some of them stream in. As I always promise you guys, will read each and every single one of your super chats, no matter how late I have to stay up doing it. I do appreciate your support. It's the least I could do. If you have questions for me, if you have any comments about the show tonight, am I wrong? Do you disagree with me? Did you think the main event tonight was the best match of both nights? Chime in and let me know. Your super chats are welcome. You can find special donation amounts in the description down below. And I know some of you are also here for the big contest that's coming up a little bit later on. We are doing a Wrestle Rumble contest tonight. And that is, of course, the NXT Belt Bash, which you see on your screen there. I'm going to be giving away a whole bunch of belts tonight. In fact, I believe it's a grand total of 6 championship belts being given to 5 random winners. We had over 2,300 entries in this particular Wrestle Rumble contest. So thank you to everybody who signed up. You see them on your screen there. All the belts you see. First place winner is going to get the NXT title. Second place North American title. Third place both NXT tag team belts. Fourth and fifth place winners are going to get a pair of mystery belts. What are they? Well, you'll have to wait and see. I don't even know what they are. I couldn't even tell you if I wanted to. And this is one of many contests that are still coming up this weekend. So if you want to get in on the other contest, there's the Legends of WrestleMania belt giveaway, Stone Cold giveaway for Sunday. Go ahead and go to WrestleRumble.com. You can indeed go ahead and sign up if you would like to do so. So before we even get into the two shows for tonight, and again, thank you, by the way, if you joined me last night, and if you're going to be joining me tomorrow night, I'm streaming 5 nights in a row. This is night 2. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing WrestleMania predictions, and then back-to-back nights of WrestleMania right back here on the channel. So I hope you'll join me then. The final ratings report. AEW, head-to-head with NXT. AEW with an Iron Mike Tyson appearance down to 688,000 overnight viewers for their show this week. That's down from 700 last week. NXT with a takeover show that it is worth noting was simulcast both on USA Network and on Peacock. NXT picks up the win overall in the final head-to-head, 768,000. So almost 100,000 viewers more than AEW on TNT. I see no winners here. NXT beat AEW this week, so what? These numbers are not that great for either show. The numbers were not good for AEW. The numbers were not all that great for NXT. Again, we don't know how many people were watching on Peacock, so there is that little caveat. But to me, these are both disappointing numbers. So both shows, they go out with a bit of a whimper. Unfortunately, in this head-to-head, it ends on a down note. But now both shows are going to have their respective nights all to themselves. NXT moves to Tuesdays this week coming up. And AEW will have Wednesdays all to itself, aside from whatever sports programming there might be. So there's your report. Now, let me just say that I loved that NXT allowed more people into the COVID Coliseum for these two shows. They had an extra row of fans on both nights, so you could hear the fan chants and you heard actual human beings, even though they were still piping in crowd noise, which was kind of annoying. I like the fact that they had more people there. It just helps the atmosphere out tremendously. I love the giant skull that was part of the set, as with many of you, gives me old Survivor Series Deadly Game vibes. So I love that. Pre-show match on night 1. So Zoe Stark score an upset win over everybody's favorite, Toni Storm. I didn't see that one coming. Big win for Zoe Stark. Clearly they see big things in this woman ever since she made her debut, and she hasn't been around for that long. She only made her debut a few months ago, maybe. Really started being featured on the show a couple months ago. And if you look what they've done with her so far, I mean, just look at who they've programmed her with. Dakota Kai. She's been in the ring with Raquel Gonzalez. She had a non-title match against the NXT Women's Champion, Io Shirai. Even last night, they showed her entering the building with Io, like they were best friends. They both got into the building at the same time. They came in together. And here, she has a match with Toni Storm and gets a win. She got a win over Toni Storm, albeit a cradle. It wasn't like a dominant win, but a win nonetheless. So clearly they've got big plans in store for this woman. And on top of that, I thought they had a good match. So that was your pre-show match last night. I have to also say this. Both nights of TakeOver, they had Samoa Joe, or as Scott Steiner would call him, Smo Joe. Smo Joe was doing interview duty. He was conducting sit-down, behind-the-scenes interviews with talent on both nights on the pre-show. And I saw him doing an interview with Walter, the United Kingdom champion. And as I'm watching this, my mind began to wander. Who can beat Walter? Who's going to be the one to finally beat Walter? I think we all knew coming in it probably wasn't going to be Tomasso Ciampa. And I'm looking at Samoa Joe sitting there, and I'm looking at Walter now 700 plus days as the United Kingdom champion. You know, many years ago, Joe and Kenta Kobashi here in the States, in Ring of Honor was a dream match for a lot of fans. For a lot of fans who knew who Kobashi was and were big Samoa Joe fans back arguably in his prime. Certainly, his first big period of success came in Ring of Honor. That was a dream match for a lot of fans. And then the match itself happened, and it was an incredible match. And I feel like, here we are now many years later, and Joe is obviously many years older, but I do feel like Joe and Walter could be something similar one day in the not too distant future if they wanted to do that match. Joe and Walter. Joe and Walter. Sounds like two grumpy old men at the senior home. But Joe and Walter, that's a match I can get behind. I just pitched the whole idea last night on my stream during the Super Chat reads. Somebody wanted to know if I could book one storyline with one star. Who would it be? What would it be? And he kind of put me on the spot, but he dropped the 50 spot, so I felt compelled. I said, boy, I better come up with something good. And the first name that popped in my head was Samoa Joe. And this is before I even knew Samoa Joe was doing these interviews on the Takeover show. Samoa Joe hasn't even been announcing on TV for the last few weeks, or last couple of weeks at least. And I laid out this whole pitch for one final run, like one big final run for Joe on the main roster that culminates in a title win. Because he's never been WWE champion. He's never been Universal champion. And so I laid this whole idea out where it's like this road to redemption for Samoa Joe to win the championship that he could never win. Because it really is a sin. And I don't even put all the blame on WWE. The real issue for Joe is that he has to stay healthy. That's been a real problem for him as he's gotten older. He's got a lot of miles on his body. He's got to be able to stay healthy. That's really always been the major issue with Samoa Joe. So if he can stay healthy, I'm telling you, man, Joe and Walter, that is a match they could do. We'd love to see it. So on night one, the show opened with Pete Dunne against Kushida, and this was a great pro wrestling match. Straight up. This was a great choice, I thought, for the opener. Kushida got the hoverboard lock on twice. Twice Pete Dunne was able to escape. He did the finger snap, stomped on Kushida's fingers. Kushida threw a punch, sold the pain in his hands, so he didn't just forget that this guy was stomping on his fingers. He actually sold it. And Pete Dunne hit the bitter end for the win at about 10 minutes. Here's a match that didn't overstay its welcome. Not that they had a reason to go 30 or 40 minutes, but it was only 10 minutes long. But it was, all action from bell to bell, great psychology, great chain wrestling between these two, built to a nice finish. I just thought this was a very good match. And outside of his loss to Johnny Gargano, Kushida has largely been protected for months now. So and I said this months ago, I really do believe the reason they started protecting Kushida so much was because they were positioning him to be a challenger for Baszler and the NXT title. I can remember Baszler and Kushida even trading tweets about wanting to wrestle each other. And then Baszler got his jaw broken and he was out for about 6 or 8 weeks. And I feel like they just didn't know what to do with Kushida, or they were just trying to run out the clock. All right, let's wait for Baszler to come back. By the time Baszler came back, too much time had gone by, and he kind of moved on to the next thing. But here you had a guy in Kushida who just kept winning. They just kept putting him in the ring with people, and he kept beating them and kept winning. And because of that, though, this felt like a meaningful win for Pete Dunne. It wasn't just, they put Kushida in there with him. Kushida actually has been, if you look at his winning percentage, if this were a sport, I don't have it in front of me, he's got a pretty high winning percentage. So this was a big win for Pete Dunne. And he needed this more than Kushida did. We had the Gauntlet Eliminator for a shot at Johnny Gargano's North American title on night 2. Isaiah Swerve Scott, Leon Ruff, Cameron Grimes, Dexter Lumis, Bronson Reed, and let me do it the way he does it. L.A. Knight. If you smell what The Rock is cooking. There are good gauntlet matches. There are bad gauntlet matches. I thought this was one of the better gauntlet matches. I enjoyed this. All action from start to finish. Swerve and Ruff opened the match. Bronson Reed was out next. One of the highlights of that gauntlet last night was a triple German suplex spot where Reed sent both of them flying through the air. Leon Ruff, he's like 140 pounds, maybe soaking wet. And the way it worked is Reed was suplexing Scott. Scott was suplexing Ruff, and Ruff just went, he took a rough landing. Leon Ruff took a rough landing here, but it looked great. Cameron Grimes was out next with all of his money, and he bribed Isaiah Swerve Scott with some of it. They worked together for a little bit. Leon Ruff was the first one eliminated. He took a hellacious beating in the 20 or so minutes, I think, that he was in this match. Dexter Lumis was out next, followed by L.A. Knight, who cut a promo on his way to the ring. Lumis was gone next when he locked his choke on, I was going to say the Kata Hajime, but that's a different move. He locked his choke on Grimes, and Knight folded him up with a jackknife pin. Then, while L.A. Knight is gloating, he's gloating about the fact that he just pinned Dexter Lumis, and he unfortunately gets pinned by Bronson Reed. So we had Swerve Scott eliminating Cameron Grimes. That left Swerve Scott and Bronson Reed as the final two in this gauntlet. Scott hit a 450 splash for a near fall. Multiple house call kicks by Swerve. Reed hits a monstrous powerbomb. Monstrous. Like Godzilla Kong levels of monstrous. And the Hangman Page Deadeye. Although Hangman Page, when he does it, he falls, he drops to his knees. And Bronson Reed fell on his ass. But he spiked him, and then he came off the top rope with the Tsunami Splash for the win. And Bronson Reed punches his ticket to a North American Championship match tonight on Night 2 of TakeOver. Bronson Reed was my pick to win in my prediction, so I was very happy with that outcome. And I thought this was a fun match. I enjoyed it. And then we got to what I felt was the match of the last two nights for the United Kingdom Championship. Walter, one of the best in the world right now. I enjoy watching Walter matches. They just have a different vibe to them. He really does feel, yeah, I sometimes hear people say he's like the final boss. He really is. He's like the final boss. When you get to him, you don't know how to beat this guy. And there really aren't that many people who are booked the way, or even work the way that he works. He's a very unique guy. I enjoy his work. I enjoy Tomasso Ciampa's work. Tomasso Ciampa hasn't really done much since the fight pit with Timothy Thatcher. Tomasso Ciampa has shaved the stubble off his head. He's bald again. He is back to wearing trunks instead of the long tights. He just by shaving his head, he looks 5 years younger. This was an excellent match. There was a spot here where Walter had Ciampa pressed up against the announce desk, and he went to go chop him. And Ciampa moved out of the way, and Walter chopped a hole right in the announce desk. Just put his hand right through it. Almost chopped the damn thing in half. We had a Tommaso Ciampa air raid crash from the middle rope. Two vicious power bombs from Walter, the last one with a stacked pin, but Ciampa kicked out. Walter followed that up with a sleeper suplex and a hard chop to the chest to get himself the pinfall. Walter won with a chop. This, compared to the main event tonight, and I know what they were trying to do tonight. They wanted to go for that big dramatic win with all the kickouts out of all the finishers and all the big moves. But then I think of a match like this, and forget the length for a second, okay? Because you could have great 40-minute matches. You could have very boring, long 40-minute matches. Forget the length. Walter won with a chop. With a chop. When was the last time you saw somebody win a match with a chop? I was thinking, like, have I ever seen a match end with a chop? I've seen plenty of chops. But I think this might have been the first time I saw somebody actually win with one, and win with one in convincing fashion. It's not like he won and I'm like, oh, come on. He won with a chop? No, because they built this chop up to be something so devastating, because it is. If you said to me, Solomonster, would you, if you had to do one of two things, would you rather take a chop full on from Walter, or take a tombstone pile driver from somebody? Well, get me up for the tombstone, because I ain't taking that chop. I don't think that would feel too good. I'll put my faith and trust that this guy is not going to drop me on my head and paralyze me. but you're not laying that chop in on me. He's believable. The stuff that he does, it makes you wince because it looks and sounds painful. Another one of those qualities and traits about Walter and his matches that I appreciate. But anyway, a chop from Walter is no regular chop. Sometimes it's the simple things. You don't have to overcomplicate things and do all the kickouts and all the false finishes. I will say a chop from Walter is the second best type of chop that there is. The first one being a pork chop. But a Walter chop is a close second. So I don't know who's going to beat this guy. You know, I don't know who is positioned on the NXT UK brand because I don't watch NXT UK week to week. You know, I saw the match October, I think it was, with him and Ilya Dragunov, which was, if not the match of the year, it was way up there. I mean, it was just a symphony of violence, that match was. So I don't know who else is really in line, believably, who can beat this guy for the championship. We knew it wasn't going to be Tomasso Ciampa. I think that was the easiest prediction to make of all the matches on the show. You knew that going in. But you also knew this was going to have a lot of vicious strikes, and it did. It delivered on exactly what you would have expected it to be. Walter is still the king. Long may he reign. But Samoa Joe, and you know what? I'll throw another name in there, even Finn Balor. Especially in light of the outcome of the title match tonight. Joe or Balor, either one, would make a fine contender for the United Kingdom Championship to oppose Walter. We had a triple threat match to crown new NXT Tag Team Champions. NXT Tag Team Champions. MSK, the winners of the Dusty Cup, against grizzled young veterans in Legado del Fantasma. Marcos in the chat says NXT UK is a good show. It's too bad more people don't watch it. I agree. You know, when I occasionally watched the big Walter match, or when Pete Dunne came back and he was back in NXT UK, I watched and I enjoyed those matches, but there's too much fucking wrestling. Simple as that. I think it's great that people have options so you can pick and choose what you want. But for somebody who has to, you know, I do it because I want to, but obviously I review a lot of these different shows. In my case, there's just only so many hours in the day. Things have to get cut. Look, NWA Power is back. I loved NWA Power, although now it's behind a paywall, but I would consider, you know, paying for it and watching it, but I don't have any time. There's talk that Lucha Underground might come back under a different name, something to do with MLW. I got very excited when I heard that. If it came back, would I watch it every week? I don't know, because I don't know if I would have time. There's too much fucking wrestling. That's the problem. You just kind of get overwhelmed with it sometimes. Anyway, we had the tag team titles on the line. This was, you know what this reminded me of? I made a note here. This tag team title match reminded me of an AEW trios match. We get a lot of those. We get too many of those. That's what this reminded me of. I can barely keep up with everything that happened in this match. Legado del Fantasma got some time to shine before they got taken out of the picture, and it came down to MSK and GYV. MSK picked up the win with the Doomsday Blockbuster. They are the new NXT Tag Team Champions, and that surprised me because I figured they might want to go back to heel champions. We had heel champions, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. Danny Burch got a separated shoulder. They had to forfeit the titles. MSK already won the Dusty Cup. Grizzled young veterans came oh so close in the last 2 years of the Dusty Cup, and they fell just short. And I don't know what their status is as far as, are they sticking around? Are they going back to the UK? I don't know, but I expected them to win. That surprised me. And you know, Wes Lee was nursing the hand injury. He had a legitimate hand. He might still have a legitimate hand injury. And, you know, they worked it into the match. They could have used that as they wanted to as an excuse for MSK to lose, but they didn't go down that road. And look, I have no issue with MSK winning. They're a great team. They're an actual team. They're not a team that was forced together. They're an actual tag team. They're a lot of fun to watch. And good for them. You got to know that's a special moment. They haven't been around very long in this company. They've really only been on television for a few months since they came over from Impact. And look at what they've accomplished in a short period of time. Main event last night was Io Shirai defending the NXT Women's Championship against Raquel Gonzalez. Now, Gonzalez pinned Io to win the War Games match, the Women's War Games match a few months ago. So I've just been waiting, trying to figure out when are they going to do this match. Are they going to come back to it? They weren't even really talking about it. And they saved it for their WrestleMania week takeover show, which is cool, right? Big takeover, deserves a big women's title match. And this was a big showcase for Raquel Gonzalez. We know what Io can do. Io is one of the best in any women's division in any company. Io is great. But with that and her win over Rhea Ripley on Rhea's way out, they were clearly positioning Raquel Gonzalez as the next big thing in the women's division. That much was obvious. Io Shirai, she's been a great champion, but she has run through all of the key players except one. And that is Raquel Gonzalez. She was the one, which is why in storyline, she was the one who wanted the match with Raquel. It was Io who went to Raquel and shoved the contract in her face and said, here, sign, I want to face you. Because she's a fighting champion. Unlike The Miz, who as soon as the bell rings, grabs his belt and runs away. I guess like all good heels are expected to do. But the point of that is that Io Shirai could beat the fuck out of The Miz. And I believe that. I believe that. There was a spot where Gonzalez lost Io on a moonsault from the apron. Io did a moonsault, and I think she was supposed to catch her. She couldn't, so she went down. They kind of redid it. Io went back on the apron, and Raquel pulled her off and posted her shoulder first into the ring post. Io spent the match trying to slay the giant. They were telling that story that Raquel Gonzalez, no matter what Io did, it wasn't working. This woman was like an unstoppable machine in there. They had an elevated ramp to the ring for both shows. Io hit a top rope moonsault onto Gonzalez on the ramp. And then as Raquel was crawling away, Io hit double running knee strikes a little further down on the ramp. So they keep the camera on Raquel and the referee who's checking on her to make sure, are you okay? And they're intentionally keeping the camera away from Io. So you know that Io was probably climbing onto something because she went in the direction of the end of the aisleway. So like, why is she going there? Where is she? Where is she going to be coming from? And I mentioned the giant skull right at the base of the aisleway that they had. And they pan up to the top of the skull, and there is Io. And it had to be a good, legitimately 12 to 15 feet in the air. She's standing on top of this skull. And off the top of the skull with a giant crossbody comes Io Shirai. Down onto Raquel Gonzalez. They had multiple camera angles of this on the replay, including a camera that was very strategically positioned at the top of the skull. How convenient. How convenient that they had a skull. You know, it was kind of, let me grab, well, I was going to show, I have a skull over here. I was going to use this as a prop, but it's inaccessible right now. I love skulls. I love skulls. I feed off the skulls of my enemies and my inferior podcasters. So it looked very impressive. Very dangerous, but it looked very impressive. Back in the ring, Shirai hit her moonsault finish, but Raquel kicked out. Raquel turned Io inside out on a lariat, hit her one-arm powerbomb finish to capture the NXT Women's Championship for the very first time. They only went about 11 or 12 minutes. Here's another example, right? A match that did not have to go 20 minutes, 25 minutes. They got their shit in. It was constant action. These women were going after each other. Now, the one thing about this match, it did feel a little spotty, hitting their spots. You know, it didn't have the same story. It didn't have the same psychology that the main event tonight had. This was obviously a deeper, more personal story. But I thought the match was a lot of fun. I thought it was very good. I thought it showcased Io and her strengths, and it also showcased Raquel and hers, and it helped get Raquel over to that next level. Raquel has beaten the unbeatable. Nobody has been able to beat Io Shirai in, how long has she been champion for? Probably since that In Your House show, right? In that triple threat, I think it was her, Rhea, and Charlotte. And that might be when she won the championship. That would have been June, I think, of last year. So if I'm right, she's been champion for a very long time. So it's a big deal that Raquel Gonzalez was the one to beat her, and the right woman won. Dakota Kai was out there in her corner. She got ejected at one point for trying to get involved. She did not return out for the celebration at the end with Raquel, which was kind of strange, so I guess they just wanted her to have her own moment by herself. Unless storyline-wise, it's leading to jealousy or something. I think they just wanted Raquel to have her moment. You know, it is unfair to compare this show, night one from last night, which was basically, it was a takeover. I mean, it was basically an NXT pay-per-view. So to compare that to the AEW Dynamite episode that I watched last night and talked about, it is a little unfair. But this show blew, now that I've watched them both, this show blew AEW out of the water. Blew them out of the water sky high. There is no comparison between the two shows. And I thought the show was solid enough last night, but this show was excellent. Night one I thought was excellent. Question is, would they be topped on night two of TakeOver? That was the question. That was the question coming into tonight. Let me welcome all of our fans here in the chat. Who we got here? We got some familiar faces. I see we have a lot of members. We have a lot of green names in the chat. So yes, by the way, for those of you who have joined the channel as a member, I thank you. That does mean a lot to me. Or you could just hit that subscribe button and subscribe to the channel if you like the content. That's pretty cool too. So let's dive right into night number two, because we got a contest to get to here in a little bit. I know some of you are waiting around for that. We haven't gotten to the contest yet. All you Wrestle Rumble folks out there, stay tuned. It's coming up. We move on to night two. Pre-show match earlier was a number one contenders match with Breezango against Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Breezango was out dressed as pirates, given that WrestleMania is in Tampa. I should have put my pirate eye patch on for this stream. Forgot. Maverick hit a top rope Hurricane Rana to Fandango. Killian Dane powerbomb Maverick onto Fandango for the win. It's really all that happened here in this match. Very basic stuff. They are now the number one contenders to MSK's tag team titles. I really just don't like Breezango. I've not been a fan of their team, their shtick. You know, Tyler Breeze. I used to be a Tyler Breeze mark when he was in the earliest incarnation of that gimmick on NXT. If you've been listening to the podcast for any length of time, you know what a big Tyler Breeze fan I was. The gimmick and the entrance and the music and everything. And he had a singles match on television last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. And he came out to his music, and it was just him. There was no Fandango. And I was reminded, because you kind of forget sometimes, he's been around for a while, I was reminded of how good Tyler Breeze is. And I enjoyed seeing Tyler Breeze as a single star. And, you know, he's never going to be NXT champion or anything like that. But I've always enjoyed Breeze more as a single on his own than the goofy comedy bullshit that Fandango does together. You know, maybe I'd like Johnny Curtis better as a singles too. There's something about the team. You know, they had the entertaining segments years ago. It's so played out to me now. It's just, I don't know, they're kind of there. But at no point did I feel like, boy, that these guys should win this match. I want to see them compete for the NXT tag team titles. So I'm glad that Killian Dane and Drake Maverick got the win. They opened the event tonight with another Poppy performance. I like Poppy. Poppy. So anytime she pops up here, see what I did there? Anytime she pops up is fine with me. She was singing a song. I don't know what the song was, although I heard her say Stand and Deliver, so that might be the name of the song. But anyway, Poppy, I don't know, she's unique in her own way. And I always laugh when Triple H marks out for her on social media. Whenever they get Poppy to come in for a show, Triple H is always taking pictures with her and doing the hand sign. He's like her biggest fan. If I'm Stephanie, I'm keeping an eye on things here. I don't trust this guy. They open with Santos Escobar against Jordan Devlin in a ladder match to unify the two Cruiserweight championships. Both belts were hanging side by side. They did not explain what would happen if both men were fighting over the belts and one man pulled one belt down and the other guy pulled the other belt down. I guess we'd be right back to where we were. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Escobar yanked Devlin off the ladder, and Devlin turned it into a DDT on his way down. We had a classic King Cuerno missile dive through the ropes. You know what? If you're going to do a dive as played out as they are, I say it when I do my AEW reviews, it should be reserved for a very select few. And I would say in AEW, the dives out of the ring or through the ropes should be reserved for 3 people. Rey Fenix, Jungle Boy, and Darby Allin. Because, especially Darby and Rey Fenix, when they do a dive, it looks like they're trying to kill their opponent and themselves. It actually looks dangerous. You would not want to be on the receiving end of a very wild, violent dive out of the ring from one of those 2 guys. In this company, or on this show, Santos Escobar is that guy. When I used to watch him on Lucha Underground as King Cuerno, and he would hit the ropes and then hit the ropes a second time, he would build up a whole head of steam. He looked like he got fired out of a cannon when he would launch himself out of the ring. It was a beautiful thing to see. And we got one of those King Cuerno dives here during this match. He knocked Devlin backwards into a ladder that was standing up against the barricade. We had a spot with Jordan Devlin hitting a moonsault from the very top of the ladder onto Escobar, down below. Devlin had the title won at one point when Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza ran down, pushed him off the ladder to the floor. He took a hellacious bump out over the top rope down to the floor. They beat him up, beat the crap out of him. But there are no disqualifications, as we well know, in a ladder match, so it didn't matter. Escobar, he was content with the damage. He sent his boys to the back, and off they went. And Escobar starts climbing. All of a sudden, Jordan Devlin has recovered, and he chucks another ladder into Santos Escobar, right into his back. Hits him with the ladder to stop him from climbing. He sets a ladder of his own up right next to him, starts climbing. Devlin hits a Spanish fly to Escobar off the ladder down below. Devlin now is climbing. Escobar cuts him off. And for the big finish, Escobar hits him with a headbutt. He hits him with his head. Headbutts him right in the chest. And Jordan Devlin tumbles backwards through another ladder that was set up in the corner, and the ladder breaks. The ladder just snaps in half. Very dangerous, very brutal looking spot. Thankfully, there were no pinfalls allowed in this match, or he would have kicked out, because that's what everybody does these days. He would have gotten his shoulder up at 2.5. But there are no pinfalls, and so this poor bastard was laid out in the corner. Devlin had some blood on his shoulder. I don't know if it was from his shoulder. I don't know if it came from the back of his head. He may have been busted open. Based on that impact, I'd be shocked if he wasn't. And with Devlin dead, that allowed Escobar to pull down both belts to become the undisputed NXT Cruiserweight champion. He now unifies both belts. I could have done without the run-in from Legado del Fantasma. I thought it was a very good car crash. This is not going to be a ladder match that anybody remembers a year from now. It's not going to go down as one of those all-time classic, memorable ladder matches, which I think it had the potential to, given who was involved. But I don't think it's going to go down that way. It was tough, though, also because you have 2 heels in this match. It's heel against heel. So if you're a fan, you come into this and say, who am I supposed to root for? You have Santos Escobar, who's the cocky SOB walking around as part of a heel faction. You have Jordan Devlin, who everything about this guy is a heel. Let's be on and off camera. This guy is a fucking heel. So who exactly am I supposed to cheer for or get behind in this match, right? There's probably some people who were maybe struggling with that a little bit. Anytime you do heel against heel, it's going to be tough. I wanted Escobar to lose. I was not happy with the finish because I thought he would lose. I wanted him to lose. I feel like him continuing on as the Cruiserweight champion and being in this division, being relegated to this division, with that label, it's going to be very limiting for him. He could do so much better than that. He had a great run. He's done very well with the Cruiserweight title, but it just feels like he's stuck now. They don't have any great big challengers for him. And now he's just sort of stuck in this box. He could be doing so much more. He could be competing for the North American title. He could be competing for the NXT championship. And now he's the Cruiserweight champion, still. Now what? Is he going to go back to wrestling Kurt Stallion? Actually, he probably won't, because I think Kurt Stallion is out with an injury, but I just think he should be doing more than he is. But he got a cool moment with his 9-year-old son on the stage when the match was over. His son held up one of the belts. He held up the other one. So I thought that was a cool moment. Shout out to, I see James Hollins and Ken Terminated and King James and the Comedic Genius. Boy, we see a lot of familiar faces in the chat. Second night in a row joining us. Yeah, Domination Warrior says Tyler Rust. Tyler Rust is being built up for bigger things. Maybe Tyler Rust will be the one to take the title from him. I thought now was the perfect time, though. Big ladder match. Doesn't even have to be pinned. You know, he doesn't even have to be pinned or submitted. Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon defend the NXT Women's Tag Team titles against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. It's been a tough week for Shotzi. Her stepdad is in a coma in the hospital after 2 heart attacks. So clearly she's got a lot on her mind coming into this show tonight. Shotzi got worked over by the heels for the first several minutes before Ember finally got the hot tag. She ran wild. Ember did the suck it crotch chop as a tribute, speaking of heart attacks, to Road Dogg, who thought he had a heart attack. I don't believe he did, but he had his own heart scare. He was in the hospital recently. He's home now, convalescing. They did a Tower of Doom spot out of the corner with Candice suplexing Ember from the top. Showed us a bunch of replays of the move. It would not be a Shotzi Blackheart match without her trying to kill herself. This is what I worry about every time this woman is in a match. What is she going to do? How is her neck going to be bent and not broken, hopefully, in this match? It's like trying to play a guessing game. Well, here it came on a dive out of the ring. She did a dive through the ropes, through Ember's legs. Ember Moon was holding the ropes open, so she kind of dove through her legs out onto the heels, who did not catch her. And I'd have to go back and watch to see, was it really their fault or did she overshoot them? I don't want to just put all the blame on them, but they didn't catch her. I know they wanted to, they didn't catch her. And she almost went face first right into the barricade. You know what it reminded me of? Almost. Thankfully, it didn't happen. That awful dive out of the ring that Lita did in her match on Raw with Trish Stratus many years ago, where she got folded up like an accordion, and how she didn't break her neck. Or did she? No, she broke her neck on the set of a TV show. Dark Angel, that's what it was. Well, she looked like she broke her neck in that match, and that's almost what this was. This was very scary, but she popped back up. She seemed to be okay. She tucked her head just in time. Ember hits the double eclipse, which they call the total eclipse, to both women at the same time. Shotzi, though, is legal. She climbs up to the top rope, hits the senton onto Indy Hartwell for the win. It felt more like a really good TV main event than it did a takeover match. I thought it was good, but I wouldn't say it was anything more than that. But big respect to Shotzi Blackheart, though, for going through with the match and doing her thing despite what's going on the home front. That can't be easy. They showed Gable Steveson in the audience with Stephanie McMahon. He qualified, in case you don't know who he is, he qualified for Team USA in the upcoming Tokyo Olympics, but there is no doubt that he is WWE bound. Not just because they showed him on TV tonight. He's done interviews before. In fact, I think after his last wrestling competition, they were interviewing him, and the announcers were openly talking to him about the possibility, I guess after the Olympics, of him going to become a WWE superstar. And this guy seems like he could be, I don't want to say the next Kurt Angle or Brock Lesnar. He could be the next Kurt Angle or Brock Lesnar in terms of, great amateur wrestler, Olympic wrestler, who makes the transition to pro wrestling. Whether or not he turns out to be as good as either of those guys remains to be seen. But there's a lot of chatter about him. He could potentially be the next big thing, and he's a huge wrestling fan. And based on what he's been talking about, he seems to have his heart set on coming to WWE. So you may be hearing about him a lot more in the future. Yeah, JC Zephyr in the chat says Stephanie was simping for that guy while in the crowd. She had a big smile on her face. She did have a, hey, you know, look, if Triple H likes Poppy, Stephanie can find herself an Olympian. Tit for tat. Maybe it's an open marriage. I don't want to start spreading rumors now, but who knows, right? Who knows what goes on in people's lives? Stephanie does look like a fan. She's a fan of his work. Thank you, by the way, for all the super chats. I do see them. We're going to get to them. I'm going to read them all your comments. If you have questions, I'm going to get to each and every one of them. So I thank you for all the support so far here tonight. Johnny Gargano against Bronson Reed, the winner of last night's Gauntlet Eliminator for the NXT North American Championship. Gargano came out dressed in an Iron Man-inspired vest. The geek that he is. I'm sure if that were me, I would have come out dressed as a geek in some way too. I would have come, let's see, how would I dress? I'd dress like Daryl Hall, maybe, come out with like a fake mullet or something. I don't know. Anyway, he was out there with an Iron Man vest. Gargano sent Reed to the floor, tried to follow it up with a plancha. Reed caught him out of midair. Gargano escaped. See what I did there? Sent Reed into the corner of the announce desk, and that injured his ribs. And that was the beginning of him selling a rib injury for the duration of the match that Gargano would off and on focus on. So Reed made a comeback. He turned a Johnny Gargano dive into a power slam and hit a bunch of forearms and a corner splash before planting Gargano with a choke slam. And Bronson Reed here had a great show of strength. Got to show off some of his strength here in this match. Went for a suplex. Gargano tried to knee his way out of it. He was kneeing him in the head. Reed, though, maintained control and turned it into a DVD. Turned it into a Death Valley driver. Gargano managed to get Reed tied up in the corner and hit a backstabber. Hit a kick to the midsection. Reed countered into a vertical suplex. Picked up Johnny Gargano in the electric chair position. Gargano turned it into a Poison Rana, which looked a little slightly off. I don't know that I would be trying a Poison Rana to a 350-pound man. Gargano went for the Gargano escape. Bronson Reed got to the ropes, broke the hold. Went for the one final beat, did Johnny, or at least he tried to. Reed caught him, tossed him back into the ring. He gave this guy, you remember, was it Santana from Impact Wrestling? Trying to think if it was Santana who had the border toss. Yeah, that's kind of what this was. It was Splash Mountain. He basically tossed him in powerbomb position back into the ring from the ramp into the ring, but it looked great. And Johnny took a rough bump there off the Splash Mountain. So Bronson Reed now is going up for the big tsunami splash. He's going for his finish, and Johnny gets out of the way. And he goes for a kick to the head, one half of the old DIY finish. Tried it again, but Bronson caught the kick, fought back with a headbutt, gave him a lariat. So Reed climbs the ropes. He's going to go for the big splash again. Austin Theory, who's outside the ring, he distracts him. Gargano attempts a top rope Rana. There may have been a botch here. I think maybe he was supposed to catch and hold on to Gargano, but he didn't. Instead, he just climbed down, hit a powerbomb. He went for the pin. Austin Theory, though, at the last moment, takes Johnny Gargano's foot and places it on the bottom rope. Out on the floor, Reed gets in Theory's face. Gargano is caught. He goes for a dive. He gets caught. And Reed dumps Gargano onto Theory. Reed then wipes out Austin Theory with a dive of his own, which I gotta say, I'm not a fan of this. Not a fan of these big guys, these big, either big tall guys or big fat guys or whatever, doing these dives out of the ring. I always say save the dives for the smaller guys. Save the dives for people like a Santos Escobar or a Ray Phoenix or a Darby Allin. And maybe on like a big pay-per-view match, you used to have The Undertaker do a big dive. Roman Reigns would do like a big wild dive out over the top rope. Yeah, I'm fine with that on special occasions, but on a regular basis, we don't need to see these big guys doing dives out of the ring. This is my issue. Even with Luchasaurus in AEW, why do all the big guys have to do dives like everybody else? Not only are you just asking for trouble, you're just begging for an injury. But if I'm a smaller guy on the roster who relies on that type of offense, I'm pissed. I always say that. It's nice that Bronson Reed can do it. Just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should. I learned that when I was about 8. I'd like to see them tone down on the bigger guys doing the big dives like that. I'd like to see them just tone down on dives altogether. I'm not asking for much, just a little bit. Just dial it back a little bit. So back inside, Bronson Reed for the first time tries for a moonsault. Thinks he's Big Van Vader now. Tries for a moonsault, gets nothing but canvas. Gargano hits the one final beat DDT, hits a second one to finish off Bronson Reed, and retain the North American Championship. I thought this was a fun match. Obviously, there were a few clunky spots, but I thought on the whole it was a fun match. I wanted to see Reed take the title, but he had a great showing these past 2 nights, and after spending months hanging around really without there being much for him to do, my only hope now is that he doesn't just fall to the back of the line with nothing going on. Right back to where he was before. This should be the match that really makes him more of a player on that NXT roster. We had Finn Balor in his 16th TakeOver match, defending the NXT Championship against the former champion Karrion Kross. A rare takeover where the title match does not headline. This match did not go on last. It was the co-main, but it went on second to last here on this show. They worked this with Karrion Kross almost fighting from underneath, which was kind of strange. Because usually he's kind of booked like the monster of the match. And here, he was almost in babyface-like fashion. He was working from underneath for a good part of the match. Balor got most of the offense. The one thing you cannot say is that Finn Balor was not booked and portrayed on NXT television like a very strong champion. That he was. That is one thing that you cannot say, you cannot criticize them for. He was booked as a strong, dominant champion. I also like the old, if you saw the introductions with the ring announcer for this match, they have the old Madison Square Garden microphone that lowers from the ceiling. It's like a double microphone. And when she's done speaking, they raised it back up. It's the first time I've noticed that. Maybe they've done it before this week and I just didn't notice, but I thought that was a nice touch. I like that. Reminds me of Howard Finkel from back in the day. So they're wrestling around for the first few minutes, and finally Balor slaps Kross right across the face. Tries to wake him up. And that pisses him off. And Kross ends up posting himself shoulder first, and that gave Balor a body part to start working over. At one point, Karrion Kross collapsed in a heap of pain. That was a callback. As Wade Barrett very astutely pointed out, that was something that happened to Kyle O'Reilly in his first match with Finn Balor. I think he took a liver shot, right? A liver kick, I think it was. And he collapsed in a heap. So fast forwarding a little bit here, Balor hit the sling blade. He's setting up for the shotgun drop kick, but Kross catches him with a lariat. Doomsday Saito suplex. Balor comes back, Pele kick, shotgun drop kick, hits a second shotgun drop kick, this time to the back. That sends Kross into the turnbuckles. And Karrion Kross goes down for the coup de grace. Off the top rope with the double stomp comes Finn Balor, hits the coup de grace. Balor for the cover, Kross kicks out. And as soon as he kicks out, in like one motion, he immediately transitions into the straitjacket sleeper. Balor rolls through, gets out of it, delivers a standing double stomp. Balor hits a PK, penalty kick to the ribs. Now he locks on a modified abdominal stretch. Scarlett is at ringside yelling something at Karrion Kross. She's like yelling in tongues at this guy. Just screaming at him. And that seems to kind of wake him up a little bit. And all of a sudden, Karrion Kross Gets out of the hold. He starts raining repeated forearms down onto Balor is face down on the mat. I thought this was going to be the end right here. I thought they were going to call the match off. It was going to be a ref stoppage. Balor was out. He wasn't moving. Kross is raining forearms down on the back of his neck. But it didn't end there. Doomsday Saito again. Kross charges in with the forearm strike to the back of Balor's head. That's his finish. Hits a second one. Took two of them. But he hit the second one, and Karrion Kross wins his second NXT championship. He reclaims the title that he never officially lost. He had to surrender it due to injury. I thought the match started slow. Final few minutes were real good, though. You know, once Scarlett yelled at him, it kind of woke him up, and he kind of kicked it into the next gear. And we got to see the monster in him come out. So now, you know, the real surprise isn't so much that Karrion Kross is the champion again, because he never really got a proper run with the belt. I am surprised that Vince McMahon didn't want to snatch him up to the main roster. I mean, given his whole entrance, the elaborate entrance, and he's got a hot blonde, this just seems like the sort of thing Vince McMahon would die for. So I was surprised he didn't go right to the main roster. I'm actually grateful he didn't go right to the main roster. So now he's the champion, but what about Finn Balor? Balor's run seems to be over. Certainly as the champion, his run is over. You could run this match back with Balor as the Demon. Now, Finn Balor was asked in an interview recently about the Demon. When are you going to bring it back? And he actually said he feels that bringing back the Demon now would feel like a step back. Because, and think about it, right? Think about the purpose and storyline of the Demon. If Finn Balor is on a losing streak, or even if he just loses a big match, or if there's a big injury angle, right? It brings the Demon out of him. He needs to tap into that part of himself to get more aggressive. Well, there was no purpose in having the Demon because Finn Balor has had a pretty dominant run for months now as the champion. There was no need for him to start putting paint on his body. Now he lost. Could this signify the return of the Demon for one more match with Karrion Kross at some point? I'm not a fan of that because I wouldn't beat the Demon. But I also wouldn't immediately run this match back and take the title away from Karrion Kross. So in that case, you're better off not doing the match. Just a thought that I had, you know, as far as what they might do next. Other options for Finn Balor. I'll say it again. A UK title match with Walter. We were supposed to get that match. There was going to be, I believe, wasn't there going to be like an Irish takeover show? I think last year. I think about a year ago this month, in fact, April of last year. I believe they were preparing for a Finn Balor challenge of Walter for the United Kingdom title, and then COVID hit and they couldn't do it. Maybe now they can revisit the match. You know, Walter is in NXT. He's got the UK title with him on the NXT brand. You know, unless Balor is leaving right away, I would love to see that match. I feel cheated out of that match. I feel like we should get that match. So maybe that's next for him. Or he can go right back to the main roster, in which case, I wish him luck. If he ends up back on Raw or SmackDown, more so Raw, I wish him a lot of luck. I'd run for the hills. That's what I would do. Somebody walks into the room and says, hey, you're being assigned to Monday Night Raw. I say, peace out. You'll see a plume of smoke behind me, like from a Roadrunner cartoon. You'll never see me again. Main event was the unsanctioned match between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. Unsanctioned, Wade Barrett said, because O'Reilly is still not medically cleared. But apparently they had no issue with him participating in this match. I loved Kyle O'Reilly paying homage to Demolition. I don't know if you noticed that on his gear when he came out. It said Axe and Smash. I thought that was very cool. Both men have new music. There's no more Undisputed Era, so the Undisputed Era music, I guess, is no more. Even Roderick Strong on NXT last week, he had new music. Both men have new music. And, you know, Taya Valkyrie is making her debut on NXT this Tuesday. I'm almost positive this new gimmick, Frankie what's her name? Frankie Monet. I was going to say Frankie Muniz, but that's Malcolm in the Middle. Frankie Monet is going to be her new gimmick. We even saw another vignette for her tonight on this show. She's got the furry boots, the little Pomeranian dog. So Taya Valkyrie is going to make her debut this week. After Taya makes her NXT debut, I think the next big NXT signing should be Jim Johnston. That's who I would like to see as the next big NXT signing. Bring in Jim Johnston. Because God knows they could use him. Listening to some of these themes, they could definitely use him on the brand. Maybe we'll see him at the next TakeOver show. He'll be waving. Stephanie McMahon could be standing there smiling. Oh, look, it's Jim Johnston. She can kind of be flirting with him like she was flirting with Gable Steveson tonight in the audience. And we'll see Jim Johnston there clapping and waving like we do all the big NXT debuts, right, at TakeOver in the audience. So security was standing between the two of them in the ring before the bell rang. And Adam Cole, a winter horsey, says that's not how you say his name. Whose name are you talking about? Be specific. Which name are you talking about? Got the expert over here. Yeah, I know CFOs is no more. They broke up a while ago. That's not new. But clearly, they need some help in the music department. They could do far worse than bringing back Jim Johnston. That's all I'm saying. Although I guess if I had to choose between the two of them tonight, I probably liked O'Reilly's music more than I did Cole's. But I wouldn't exactly call either of them good. So security was standing between these two guys at the very beginning of the match. Cole shoved O'Reilly off the top rope early on. Kyle sold it big. He was holding his neck. He was selling a neck injury. And at that point, Adam Cole went to work. Kyle made a comeback, pulled a giant chain out from under the ring. Cole caught him on the way back inside, gave him a neck breaker onto the chain, which for him looked like it sucked. Turtlehead says Walter is pronounced Walter. Yes, I know that, but I sound ridiculous when I say that. So I say it the way that it's written. His name is Walter. That's how they said it on television. That is how I say it. Mustafa Ali calls himself Mustafa Ali. That's great. Congratulations. He's Mustafa Ali. I'm going to say it the way that I want to fucking say it. Period. End of story. That's how it's going to be on this channel. You don't like it? Tough shit. So, Cole applied a figure four leg lock. Kyle fought out of it. Cole had the... now, this was cool. This was actually one of the cool moments of this match. The chain was introduced into this match, right? So the chain, long chain, too. The chain is hanging from the top rope. It's like draped over the top rope, right? So all you got to do is grab it. And if you grab the chain and pull it out, then you've got like a little chain clothesline. So Cole has the chain in hand, and he hits a chain-assisted clothesline, followed by a chain-assisted backstabber for a 2 count. The chain clothesline, where he pulled out the chain, and it caught Kyle right in the mouth as he was coming off the ropes, I thought that was a very creative spot. I thought that was actually a very cool spot. It looked great. Gives new meaning to the term chain wrestling. Cole hit a Shining Wizard to Kyle O'Reilly, who was sitting in a chair in the corner. Goes for the pin, but Kyle kicks out. They fight outside the ring. Kyle clears off the announce desk, which is a very kind thing of him to do. Here in this grudge match, this unsanctioned match, Kyle O'Reilly was very careful to remove all of the debris off of the announce table. So not only would he not get hurt, but his opponent, Adam Cole, would not get hurt either. I thought that was a very nice thing for him to do. Kyle dropped him straight down right on the back of his neck on the announce desk. The desk did not budge. It looked like one of those old WWF rings from the 80s and the early 90s that just didn't move when somebody got slammed on them. Funny enough, it wasn't until Vince McMahon started taking bumps in the ring in the late 90s that all of a sudden the rings got a little softer. They had a little give to them. All of a sudden he didn't like taking bumps. Boy, that ring's kind of hard, pal. Then the rings changed. It's funny how that works. Meanwhile, you have a whole generation of crippled up guys who are wrestling in this hard-ass ring for all those years, probably popping pain pills, just to be able to keep working inside that ring. It would have been nice if they would have softened it up about 10 years before they did, 10 or 15 years before they did. So this table did not budge. When Kyle got up off the table, he had someone's notes. I don't know if it was Wade Barrett's notes or Vic Joseph's notes or whose notes it was, but they were kind of stuck to his thigh. So the notes were stuck to his body. Cole whacked him in the head with a flat screen monitor. Thankfully, this one did not explode like it did on poor Dean Ambrose a few years ago. Cole grabs a toolbox from underneath the ring, empties it out. He tries to use a pair of pliers on Kyle. Kyle blocks it. Cole then tries to use a tire iron, and O'Reilly destroys him with a rebound clothesline. Speaking of Dean Ambrose. O'Reilly with the triangle choke. Cole reaches down. He grabs the tire iron that was laying there, and he whacks Kyle with it right in the ribs. Kyle lets go of the hold. Now both guys, they're in chairs in the middle of the ring, sitting down, directly opposite each other. They're staring at each other while they're sitting in these chairs, and Adam Cole is talking shit to Kyle O'Reilly, and they start exchanging blows back and forth. Now they're back up on their feet, and Cole goes low, right to the balls. A low blow by Adam Cole. Cole hits a super kick that actually looked like it hit kind of snug. It looked great. It sounded great. Of course, Kyle kicked out. Cole places Kyle's head in the chair. Going to Pillmanize him. Referee tries to talk him out of it, and he punches the referee right in the face. Cole hits the Panama Sunrise to the injured neck, but the big dummy knocked out the referee. So now you got no ref. The ref can't count the fall because you knocked him out. So congratulations, fucking idiot. You would think William Regal would be prepared for a situation like this, that there would be a new referee on their way down to the ring, but nope, the guy was laying there and Kyle was crawling down the aisleway and Adam Cole went after him and the referee was in the ring just laying there. No new officials sent out, no doctor sent out to go check on him. Apparently nobody cares. So now they're on the ramp, and Cole throws a chair at O'Reilly's head. This was an unprotected chair shot to the head. Very interesting. That's technically what it was. We'll see if anybody flips out over it. O'Reilly had a front face choke locked in on Cole on the ramp. All of a sudden, Cole falls forward, right through the metal grate. The metal grate gives way in a perfect square, actually a rectangle, perfect rectangle, and they fall into this hole. Cole drags himself out of the hole first. Then he kicks a hole in the side. Looked like cardboard. He's kicking a hole in the cardboard side of the ramp, and he pulls O'Reilly out that way. They make their way back down to ringside, and oh look, the referee is alive again. Same referee. He was back up on his feet. Cole hits the brainbuster on the flat portion of the ring steps. This is the spot that bothered me. Not the dangerous aspect. I mean, it looked great. It looked like a vicious move. He dropped this fucking guy right down on his skull, right on the steps. That should have been it. That should have been it. That should have been the finish of the match right there. When you start doing spots like that, and I have the same issue with AEW too, by the way. It's becoming more of a problem every week when I watch AEW. I'm getting more and more annoyed with them about it. There are just certain spots and certain moves. If you're going to incorporate them into a match, they have to be the finish. When people start kicking out of some of these things, because they keep trying to come up with clever, innovative spots like this. Oh, I know, we'll give somebody a brainbuster on top of the ring steps. Well, that's fine if you're going to do that, but then that guy shouldn't be kicking out. But no, this was not the finish. Believe it or not, this was not the finish of this match. He puts him in the ring, and Kyle barely gets a shoulder up. I know people will say, oh, it's just instinct, Solomonster. He's just his body's natural instinct. I don't think that would be your body's natural instinct. If somebody dropped you on your head on top of the ring steps, I think you would be unconscious in that situation. But what do I know? Cole goes for the last shot. O'Reilly ducks it, locks on a heel hook. Cole grabs the chain, he wraps it around his fist, he clocks Kyle in the face with it, and that breaks the hold. Panama Sunrise attempt gets blocked. O'Reilly hits the Ushigoroshi right across the knee. Kyle pulls down the knee pad and delivers a last shot to Adam Cole, his own move. He used Adam Cole's own move against him, and Adam Cole, what does he do? He buries the shit out of his own finish by kicking out of it. All you can do is laugh. All you can do is laugh. He buried his own move. That's what he did. Kyle went to Pillmanize Cole's ankle. Cole takes the chair off his foot, hits Kyle with it. That's a nice little callback to a spot in the Bret Hart-Steve Austin match at WrestleMania 13. Cole then overturns a chair. So the chair legs are sticking upright. This man had evil intentions. But O'Reilly returns the favor from earlier with a low blow of his own. Kyle wraps the chain around his own leg, wraps it around his knee. The loaded knee. And he delivers a knee drop off the ropes, down across the back of Cole's neck, right through the chair. And finally, Kyle O'Reilly scores the pinfall in a match that I thought would never end. And Kyle O'Reilly has defeated Adam Cole. This went around 40 minutes, this match. This match did not need to go 40 minutes. This match did not need to go 40 minutes any more than Edge and Randy Orton had to go 40 minutes at WrestleMania last year. I rather enjoyed their greatest wrestling match ever at Backlash a lot more than I enjoyed their WrestleMania match. And that was probably a 20-minute match. But it didn't have to be more than that. Some people can pull it off. Depending on how a match is laid out, certain Iron Man matches, you know, if you can keep people interested enough, it all depends really on the layout of the match. But late in the match, they started to lose me. So the action was good, and I could see the story they were trying to tell. It was still a good match, but they just went much longer than they had to. This match overstayed its welcome. It kept going. There were plenty of opportunities for it to end, plenty of spots, big moves for it to end, and they fell into the trap of going one near fall too many, two near falls too many. They just let it drag on longer than they had to. So for me, maybe not for you, but for me, it dragged the match down a little bit. I think night one wins out between the two nights. They were both very good nights, top to bottom, an excellent edition of NXT TakeOver. But I got to go with night one over night two. Now, I don't have the night one results here. I had the night one Twitter poll results up on the stream last night. But let's take a look at the Twitter poll for night two. See what you guys thought of the show tonight. There it is, over 1,000 votes in, 86% thumbs up, 14% thumbs down. So that is an overwhelmingly positive score for NXT TakeOver Night 2. I know Night 1 got a pretty damn high score too. So, on the whole, it seems like people were pretty damn pleased with this show. So if you want to vote and let your voice be heard, you can go at Solomonster. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. There we go. See, Solomonster can also moderate while he live streams. So when people post dumb comments, he can bounce them right out. And that was a pretty dumb comment. So, with that being said, before we get to all of your super chats and your questions, King James in the chat says people these days don't have attention span for long matches anymore. I'll take tonight's main event over the typical AEW 12-minute six-man spot fest. Well, King James, I agree that there are a lot of people who don't have a long attention span. My attention span has shortened a little bit over the years. I am not one of those people. But you cannot compare a six-man tag on Dynamite to a singles main event on TakeOver. First of all, that's a terrible comparison. Two totally different types of matches. There are singles matches that, grudge match, whatever it may be, they do not need to go 40 minutes. The problem is certain people like to get cute with their matches, and they think we have to just flood the match with all of these spots because it's a grudge match, right? It's a blood feud. So if the match doesn't go 30, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, well, then it's not going to live up to expectations. So we have to make the match long. We have to have all of these kickouts. And what I'm saying is that might work sometimes depending on how you lay out the match. It doesn't always work out that way. It's quality over quantity. And there was a lot of quality in that match. I could have done without the quantity. You could have done most of what they did in that match and condensed it into 25 minutes, and I guarantee you it would have been just as good, if not better. So in this case, it's not so much a matter of, oh, people don't have a long attention span. People just want, short, quick matches. No, people want matches that they're entertained by. And if you get to a point in the match where you're starting to get bored and they're starting to lose you as the viewer, then they're doing something wrong. And I know I wasn't the only one who thought that this match went on for far too long. Now, if you don't think that it went on for far too long, then congratulations. I'm glad you enjoyed the match. I'm telling you, they went longer than they had to. There was no reason for this match to be 40 minutes. And that has nothing to do with my attention span. Just didn't have to go that long. Simple as that. Let us go to the Wrestle Rumble contest. We're going to give away some belts. How's that sound? I know we got some people who have, actually we have a lot of people who have entered the contest, over 2,300 names, in fact. And you can see some of the belts there on your screen right now that are going to be part of this contest. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to open our website that we use for all of these contests. And again, this is a Wrestle Rumble contest. I have the great privilege of being able to host. I am not Wrestle Rumble. Wrestle Rumble, he is, I think of the Wizard of Oz. He's like the guy behind the curtain. He's a fine fellow. So let me bring up our list randomizer here. There we go. There we go. So this is the website we use. It's random.org, and it's very simple, actually. What we do is we are going to paste all of the names here in this box. Now, you see those names, and I'm going to scroll through. You'll see some of them. You might even see your name in there. Look at this. Over 2,300 names. You'll see some repeat names in there because people paid for more than one entry. And here's how we're going to work this, because we're picking 5 winners. Picking 5 winners to win 6 belts in total. 2 mystery belts. There's a set of tag team belts in there. So I am going to, one of my favorite super chats, the Mangled Ultimate Warrior. Hey, Mustafa, thank you for the $4.99. I appreciate that. I'm going to read your super chat and everybody else's here in just a minute. Why don't we do this? When I hit the randomize button, the first 5 names that come up, those are going to be your first, second, third, fourth, and 5th place winners. In that order, according to those numbers. So the name, for example, that's next to number 5, you would be 5th place. The name next to number 1, you would be 1st place. Keep it very simple. So here we go. We get a little drum roll going. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Here we go. Let us see who the winners of the contest for Wrestle Rumble, the NXT Belt Bash, are. With 2,347 entries, we have the 5th place winner is Chris Quillman, who wins a mystery belt. 4th place winner is Andrew Dressel. 3rd place winner is Supratik Boxy. 2nd place winner is Bryant Becerra. And the 1st place winner, the winner of the NXT Championship, is Felipe Martinez. Those are your winners in the contest. Congratulations again. 1st place winner, Felipe Martinez, Bryant Becerra, Supratik Boxy, Andrew Dressel, and Chris Quillman. Congratulations. You are the winners. Wrestle Rumble will be in touch with you. He is very punctual. He gets those championship belts out quickly. So you may be hearing from him directly. Again, I want to say thank you to Wrestle Rumble for allowing me to host these contests. We're going to be doing 2 more of these. We got 2 more contests. We got both nights of WrestleMania, Saturday night and Sunday. We got more contests coming up. You want to learn more about them? You can enter right now at WrestleRumble.com. Cutoff time is going to be Saturday, or at least for the first contest, Saturday at, I believe it's 7 p.m. Eastern, even though I think the pay-per-view starts at 8 p.m. But anyway, go to WrestleRumble.com. All the information will be there. And again, congrats to all of the winners. I love it. I love it. I love it when people win stuff, when good things happen to good people. It makes a smile appear on my face. Yeah, we got, now it's not Shelly Martinez's brother. Let's head on over to the Super Chat section here. Because we got a whole bunch of messages from you guys. And again, thank you to everybody so far who has sent a message in. We still have Super Chats coming in. Get to read all of your messages and give you guys some of the attention. Now, we kind of turn the show over to you guys. It is after midnight, officially Friday morning here on the East Coast. And we're going to turn this bad boy over to you. Thank you to the few people, by the way, who also joined as members. You have those 2 membership tiers. You get some perks out of it, including, of course, you have access to certain new emojis in the chat that nobody else does. So if you do join, I thank you. And we'll get some music going here in a little bit. But let's say thank you first to Hashway, who was the first person to drop some love on the stream tonight, even before I went on the air. Oh, by the way, before I go on here, can't really see it, but I'm wearing a New York Mets shirt, and the New York Mets had quite the win earlier today. Quite the win. It was a bases loaded hit by pitch win, where Michael Conforto sort of leaned into a pitch, which you're not really supposed to do. And for whatever reason, the umpires didn't review it. They didn't overturn the call. And the Mets got a win, and I saw people, complaining, oh, the Mets cheated, the Mets cheated. You know what? A win is a win. So it was a big win for my Metsies today. You win at all costs. What did Farouk say back in the Nation of Domination days? By any means necessary. I want that to be the Mets motto this season. By any means necessary. Just want to win. That's all I want to do. Just want to win. Coggies, that's right, Coggies. How about them Mets? Ryan Spies, I'm sad Ciampa shaved his head before I can make a ton of jokes about how Walter killed an old man. Naif Al-Safar, thank you. He dropped a sticker super chat earlier for $10. Thank you, Naif. Skyline with the 10. Watched NXT over AEW last night, and it was great. Nothing has been offensive like AEW. Also, it's really obvious nobody is trying anything that's about his or her abilities. A breath of fresh air. So, Sky has become a big NXT fan. Naif with another $4.99 super chat. Thank you to Naif. Domination Warrior with the $2. It's nice to see the killer spelled backwards gear. Ryan Spies, can we just stop with the 40-minute matches in mostly empty arenas? Well, this one, again, it wasn't as bad as Edge and Orton. That one was last man standing in an empty warehouse. They wanted to tell their story no matter how long it took, and some people say that match is still going on to this very day. Prince Walker. I think Kross should have squashed Baszler that way. The Demon could have been the next challenger. Demon could still be. The Demon could still be the next challenger. Whether it doesn't have to be a squash. He has now lost. Balor has lost his first match. What will he do? How will he react? Will it bring out the Demon? I don't think it should, because again, I don't think the Demon would win, and I think if you want that to be special, then you don't bring it back after a few years and you beat the guy. So I think they should just leave well enough alone and just give us what we want, as Batista says. Give me what I want. Finn Balor against Walter. Or is it Walter? We don't want to piss off all the people who might get sand in their hoo-ha. John Garcia, I miss the CFOs. They had some good music. I actually defended CFOs when Jim Johnston kind of went off on how shitty all the new music was. I did a whole segment on Jim Johnston a couple months ago. And I wish we had him back, but I actually stuck up for CFOs because CFOs had some good songs that came out of that era when they were doing the music. Spanish Goddess, rest in peace, DMX. When did that become official? Is that true? I didn't hear that. That might have happened just as I was coming on the air. I know he was in a bad way, but I didn't know that was official. King James, glad Kyle got the W as this may be his ceiling in WWE. He definitely needed the win more. Absolutely. He definitely was the right person to win that match. Dan Richards with the $5 super chat. 3 things guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and NXT takeovers being awesome. Nothing on Mania will touch these nights. Night 1 was better, top to bottom. Steve Joseph, the NHL just signed a new deal with ESPN. Now remember, there were multiple deals that the NHL had, so that I don't think was unexpected. I believe there's still another deal that they may have with NBC Universal, I believe. Rodimus Prime with the $40 super chat. Wow, love the main event between Cole O'Reilly, but I do agree, way too long. Sean Waters, Kyle against Cole was good, but I agree, super long. Reminded me more of a Triple H Shawn Michaels Hell in a Cell. Vitamin Vision TV. You know what, just on that subject, Michaels and Triple H also had that last man standing match at the Royal Rumble. And it's been many years since I've watched it, so maybe I just need to go back and watch it again. But that's another example of a match that I remember not really thinking was that great. It was just like, I wasn't really impressed. You know what I liked more? They had a television match that probably went about 20 minutes on TV in December of 2003 for the World Heavyweight title. That was the one where Shawn Michaels super kicked him and fell on top of him, and his shoulders were down too. And everybody thought that Shawn Michaels was the champion, and Eric Bischoff came out and said that he wasn't the champion. He said Triple H is still the world champion. They fucked us on the finish. That was a great match. That might have been the second best match those two guys ever had after their unsanctioned match at SummerSlam in 2002, because that was their best. That was the best match between the two of them. Vitamin Vision, missed Takeover, showing the stream some love. Thank you, Vitamin Vision, for the $10. I appreciate that. Hittin' Dave, what did you think of the NXT chant when the heel, Adam Cole, breaks out of a hold with a foreign object and wake up ref for the heel afterward? It didn't really bother me. There are some chants that annoy me that didn't bother me. I was just glad to have actual fans in the building. I think you kind of learn to appreciate them more. Ken terminated by DQ. Lacey Ryan was treated as an enhancement talent, so I was happy that Starks beat a big star like Tony. I love Storm, but it's Zoe time. So we got a Zoe Stark fan in Ken. Giovanni Zarate, who I know is one of our channel members, with the $70 super chat. At Time Point, even with their TV being bland at times, since the move to USA, it's going to be hard for them to put out a bad takeover show. It was class. We are in agreement on that. Never seen a bad takeover. Some takeovers are better than others, but I have never seen a bad takeover. Giovanni, thank you for the $70, man. That's amazing. Crash with the $2. What do you think will happen with Bobby Fish? He's going to get lost in the shuffle is what's going to happen. I mean, Bobby Fish, you talk about Samoa Joe. Bobby Fish can't stay healthy. I mean, every 5 seconds I turn around, I'm reading about another Bobby Fish injury. So it doesn't look good for Bobby Fish. I'm not saying he's going to be fired. I'm just saying in terms of him actually doing anything meaningful on TV, he's getting older. He's an older guy relative to the rest of the roster. I don't have his age in front of me, but I think he's up there in years. And when you're getting older and you're getting hurt all the time. It's not a good combo. Bobby Fish on his own is just, it's just death. He's got to be part of a tag team or doing something with a group, because Bobby Fish on his own ain't going to go nowhere. There's nothing there. Good wrestler, but if he's going to be on his own as a single, he's going to be dead in the water. Ruben Karrion, when is the Hardcore Justice live review? You're going to be waiting for that. If you're waiting for a Hardcore Justice review, or if you're waiting for any other Impact review, you're going to be waiting a while. Patchy Beard, loved Conforto's heel turn today. Thanks for the great content. You know what? That's true. Michael Conforto turned heel. The whole Mets team looked like heels at the end of that game. They were patting him on the back. They were congratulating him. I say great. Embrace the... Kane said it best years ago. Embrace the hate. The Mets should absolutely be the heels this season. I'd be fine with that. I can root for the heels. I have no problem with that. The comedic genius. Rest in peace, DMX. This one, I still haven't heard if that's true or not, so I don't want to say if it is or not, but yeah, I don't really want to comment on that until I know for sure. Dop with the 5. I agree, night 1 was better and the crowd was more active. Io against Raquel was my match of both nights. Keep up the great work. Hope Mania is as good as NXT. Chris Ludek with the $5. Definitely agree that Walter matches feel different, almost like a Brock match from 2012 or 2013. That's a good comparison. It is kind of like that. It is kind of like a Brock Lesnar match. Except Walter works more often than Brock does. Ryan Spies. MSK are still technically the PWG Tag Team Champions. Funny enough. Love Gun. Never led the ring general near the main roster. He's great. Puts more people over in defeat. That he should retire Brock Lesnar. I have no idea who you're talking about. Talking about Adam Cole? I have no idea who you're talking about. Mustafa Ahmadi. I won't be here for the WrestleMania review, so I'm showing my support now. This random human. Okay. Yeah, we had random human in the chat last night. Thank you, random human. Thank you, Mustafa. I appreciate that. He said, I just hope Sammy and Bobby win. It's not looking good. I don't think it's looking good for Sami Zayn or Bobby Lashley. I'm going to do my WrestleMania predictions tomorrow night. Ryan Spies, Triple H puts Poppy over better than he did Booker T. Sadly, it's true. It's true. Skyline, if you want to become a member, you'll see there's a join button. It's a white join button down below the video. If you click that, there's like an introductory video with my face on it talking to you. There's 2 different tiers. There's a $4.99 tier and a $9.99 tier that has the retro audio as they start to go up. But hit that join button and it'll give you all the information there. Ruben Karrion, Velveteen Dream, where are you? Well, what do you think? The Velveteen Dream has not been seen on television now in months. It don't look good for the Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream is not hurt. As far as I know, he is not nursing any kind of an injury. So, what do you think that means for the future of the Velveteen Dream? I don't think it means anything good for his future. You talk about crashing and burning. You talk about a star that burned out long before people expected him to. It's sad, but that's how it goes. Alfonso Rodriguez, would the Cole O'Reilly match have been better if it was cut about 10 minutes? It had me yawning at times. Good takeover, though. Yes, it would have. It would have been better if it was cut by 15 minutes. It still would have been the longest match on the show. It would have been fine. So, absolutely. Ryan, I can't take Loomis seriously. I always think of the storyline with Christy Hemme and TNA. What are you doing in my bedroom? Sam Shaw. You know, if he's not going to talk, they're going to have to get him a manager. You know, just like Undertaker had a manager back. You know, there used to be a whole plethora of managers. So who would manage Dexter Lumis? Who would you have manage Dexter Lumis? Because I feel like he's going to need one. He's going to need a manager. Jesse Moctezuma. Have you heard the rumors of Bea Priestley coming to WWE? I've heard Meltzer speculate that she might be coming to WWE. And that she's definitely not coming back to AEW. So I think just by process of elimination, he's figuring that she's coming to WWE. But she could be going to NXT UK. I don't think she's coming to the main roster. But I could see her going to the UK brand. Zachary Hale Antares. I miss when bands would do some entrance themes. Jordan. Wanted to watch, but couldn't. Avoided spoilers all day. However, I'm here to support the Solomonster. Cheers to day 2 of Hell Week. It's tough, man. I'm not getting the sleep that I should be, which is my own stupid fault. And I'm trying to work on the show for Sunday as well. And I haven't started any of the history stuff. So I'm really behind the gun. It's not. It's fun when I'm on with you guys. Like right now, I'm having fun. But once I have to just kind of log off, and then tomorrow morning it all starts again. Plus, you know, my regular job. It's it's no bueno. But we'll get through it. As long as you guys are here to join me, we'll have a good time. Mustafa, WWE needs to incorporate hip hop more and have athletic internet personalities like the Pauls join WWE if they want a younger audience. I assume he's talking about Logan Paul and Jake Paul. King of Doug style, Raquel's title reign could and should come close to, if not be the longest of all time. I really don't see anybody who can take it from her. Well, she just won it, so we have to give it some time. She hasn't even defended it yet. I think there's a story to be told there with Dakota Kai being jealous, because Dakota Kai is the one who really brought her in as her bodyguard, her tag team partner she became, and she beat her to the championship. So I don't know that they want to split them just yet, but there's definitely a jealousy storyline to be told there between those two. The only question is who's the heel and who's the babyface. Frost with the $5. During the ladder match, Beth said, "We're talking about a legacy here. You don't do that by cheating." But that's not true because the Astros did it. That's true. That's true. But so did the Mets. So. Brian Pissarra, look at this. One of our winners from the Wrestle Rumble contest dropping $20. Hey, Solomonster, enjoyed night 1, Stand and Deliver, and did not watch Dynamite. Congrats to all the winners in the Wrestle Rumble contest tonight. Get to add the North American title to my collection. Well, enjoy it, my friend. And when you get it, take pictures and share it on social media so I can share with the world. Oh, my goodness. Look who it is. It is Luis Belmont Show walkthroughs. It is the legendary Luis. I'd rather have Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks on commentary over Vic Joseph. I heard he was terrible on commentary. You mean you don't like Vic Joseph during the big moments of the main events going, "Oh! Adam Cole's got him up. Oh!" You don't like that? You don't enjoy that? You don't like the fact that, "Oh!" Thank you, Luis. I have no idea who Anna Kasparian is, but apparently she's a Young Turk. Granny, hell yeah, with the $5 super chat. Will the $10 YouTube members be included in the roll call in the podcast, or is that still pay? That's a PayPal thing. That's a separate thing. That could change. That could change, but right now it's a PayPal thing. Try to keep that and the YouTube stuff separate. But the $10 tier, again, It's all spelled out. If you click the join button, it'll list. And I'm going to be adding things over time as I am able to add new things to that list of perks. The big thing is the retro audio. I got the first 3 episodes up with the Solomonster Sounds Off from 2007. First 3 shows I ever did. Those are already up for members at the Legends tier. And I'm working on getting episode 4 and 5 up next. There's some old SE Scoops episodes that you can't find anywhere else. I plan on getting those up as well. JC Zephyr in the chat says, you made Vic Joseph sound like he's constipated on the toilet on a slow two. Well, that's what he sounds like. It sounds like he's having a sudden bowel movement. But it's very difficult for him to kind of get it out. Nobody sounds more constipated on commentary than Josh Matthews. He is the king of constipation. You know, Josh Matthews, who's coming out of the impact zone. Like, the way he would do commentary was just atrocious. Absolutely fucking atrocious. But Vic Joseph is starting to give him a run for his money. Ooh. Love Gun, Ring General is Volta. Oh, of course. How could I? That's me being stupid. How could I forget? The Ring General is Volta. Kurt Wright, thank you for the $5. No message, just showing some love. Ken Terminated with the 5. I honestly did not mind the last man standing match with Triple H and Shawn Michaels because both men did not went over to develop the triple threat match of WrestleMania 20. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a matter of there not being a clear finish. Just the match itself, I didn't think was all that great. I wasn't as impressed with it as some other people were. And I believe we're all caught up now with Shino DePhoenix. Do you think Io Shirai might team with Saray? That's right, Saray is another one who they showed in the audience last night. She is one of the newest signees to NXT. I don't know, I feel like that would be kind of a step down. It would give Saray some rub right out of the gate, I guess, by aligning her with a former champion, but I don't know, for Io? Well, you know what, though? Let's talk about Io real quick. So Io Shirai lost her championship. And now Raquel Gonzalez is going to have her chance to shine. What now do you do with Io Shirai? I don't really want to see Io Shirai on Raw and SmackDown because they'll completely fuck her up. I really just, I have no faith in them at all whatsoever. Zero. Zilch. None. None. She'll be doing goofy comedy and stuff like they have Asuka doing on TV. So let's hope that she doesn't get called down, okay, to the main roster. Well, if she stays in NXT, then what does she do if she's not challenging for the championship? They just instituted new women's tag team titles, did they not? So maybe that isn't the worst thing they could be doing with her. Is aligning her with someone like Saray as a team to eventually challenge for the NXT tag team titles. That might be the way to go. John Falchetta with the $5. Raquel and Dakota are telling the Diesel HBK story from 94-95. Great show for NXT. Well, if they're telling that story, I certainly hope that Dakota Kai does not try to sabotage Raquel Gonzalez in the finish of their big match, the way that Shawn Michaels, according to Kevin Nash, tried to sabotage him on that botched powerbomb at the end of their WrestleMania 11 match, which I just talked about in the This Week in History segment last week. Kevin Nash says, we're best friends, I love him to death, but he tried to sabotage me. He wanted my spot. He goes, Shawn's taken that move a million times. He knows how to take a proper powerbomb. He over-rotated on purpose. He tried to make me look bad. So I hope Dakota Kai doesn't do that to Raquel Gonzalez. John also says, I'd rather have Joe Buck and Vince Russo over Vic Joe. Oh, come on. Once you said Russo, now you've gone too far. Russo on commentary. I would do a contest and I would say, for every time that Vince Russo, in the course of a 3-hour Monday Night Raw, on commentary would say the word bro, take a shot of absinthe, I'm pretty sure everybody in the chat would just die. It would be like one of these cults you hear about, you know, with the Kool-Aid and everything, and all their followers just kind of drop dead. They drink the Kool-Aid and they croak. That would be everybody in the live chat, myself included. One shot of absinthe in a 3-hour Raw for every time Vince Russo on commentary says the word bro. How long do you think it would take before you pass out? I don't think it would take very long. Look at Roman Reigns in that super chat. You go, girlfriend. Kurt, Bobby's World with the 10. Thank you for the $10. I appreciate that. Bobby's World says, kind of glad I missed most of O'Reilly and Cole. My girlfriend's birthday was today, and my son's 18th is tomorrow, so I was in and out, but I saw all of Baszler and Kross, and I loved it. Balor and Kross was good. It was a little slow to start. And then by the end, it built up. And Karrion Kross is he's back in the catbird seat. He's the world champion once again. Robbie Burns says before the first hour ends. I would say before the first segment ends. We would all be in a comatose state. Kurt Wright. Do you think Cole should join the main roster? And if so, what brand? No. I just don't think, I don't have a lot of faith in his future. If he goes to the main roster, look at what happened to Keith Lee. And I know Keith Lee beat Randy Orton early on, but what happened after that? I could go down the list of all the other names too. The jury is still out on what's going to happen with Rhea Ripley. I think she'll be okay, but no, I don't think that's going to end up being a good thing for him. I really don't. Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to put him in matches with guys that are like 2 or 3 times his size just to make him look even smaller. I don't think that's a good idea. But I also don't have a good answer for you as far as if you keep him in NXT, what do you do with him? He's done all that there is to do. He's in this weird position now of, what is the best way to handle Adam Cole? And if you keep him in NXT, you're going to be very limited in what you can do with him. Shane Hughes says, good day, Solomon. Well, good day, Shane. Nice to hear from you. And I believe we are all caught up on your super chats. It's a lot of love tonight. Means a lot to me. We had a great stream tonight. Great support from all you guys. We got 2 nights of TakeOver in the books. 2 nights of TakeOver reviewed. And now, tomorrow night, did I have the schedule graphic here? I don't think I forgot to put it in. But anyway, I'll tell you the schedule. How about that? So tomorrow night, WWE is having a WrestleMania edition of SmackDown. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. They're going to have a SmackDown Tag Team Title Fatal 4-Way match. I'm going to be live on YouTube at 10:15, which was my plan tonight, by the way, until Cole and O'Reilly screwed me. But I'll be on the air as soon as SmackDown goes off the air a few minutes after. We'll talk SmackDown, but we'll also do WrestleMania predictions. So I'm going to be live tomorrow night, and then live again on Saturday night for night 1 of WrestleMania. This is going to be a big weekend. We had a big weekend with WrestleMania last year, 2 nights. We had tons of people in here. There were super chats galore. I was answering questions, I think, until the wee hours. So I want to see you all back here again on Saturday, and then again on Sunday. We're going to do it again on night 2, Sunday night. And during the day on Sunday, episode 699 of the podcast will drop. I have no idea what will be on it, other than I am going to address some comments that were made this week by one Seth Rollins. It's been a while since I've addressed Seth Rollins' comments on the podcast, and I will do so again this weekend. So you have that to look forward to. And I think that pretty much covers everything. So, Michael Cuomo, just dropped a super chat. $5. Hopefully Kross has a much longer title run this time. Hey, if he stays healthy, I think he will. I think he's going to be just fine as long as he can stay healthy and his arm is good to go. You know, he's got just the look, the entrance. We still haven't seen that one great match of his in WWE. You know, the match tonight with Baszler was the best Karrion Kross match he's had yet. But he's still missing that one match that makes you really go, okay, that's a match that we're going to remember at the end of the year, or that's the match that defines his career. It hasn't happened yet, because he's still a relative newcomer. He hasn't really had that many big matches. So I think he's still searching for that match. Tonight was the closest thing, though. Tonight was the best match of his run so far in NXT. So one other thing I want to show you guys, I'm actually very excited to share with you. You can enter the free WrestleMania Prediction Challenge with $50,000 up for grabs, courtesy of DraftKings, and it's a special WrestleMania contest they're running. It's a free pool, so this is not betting on matches or anything like that. This is free to enter. You know, you've heard of pick'em contests and stuff. That's exactly what this is. All you got to do is download the DraftKings app and sign up with code Solomonster. That helps out the podcast when you do. Code Solomonster to enter. I don't know if the WrestleMania pools are up yet or not, but they will be in the next day or so if they're not already. So just a fun little thing if you want to get in on that prediction contest. We're working with DraftKings this week, just like WWE. Look at that. They're the official gaming partner of WWE, and I guess for 1 week, they're the official gaming partner for the Sound Off as well. So again, use the code Solomonster if you want to get in on the free prediction contest over there. I will see you guys back here same time tomorrow night. And I hope you'll join me then. We'll talk some WrestleMania predictions and all the fun stuff going on SmackDown. So until then, be well, stay safe, have yourselves a fantastic night. Thank you for the fun stream. NXT was excellent as always, and so are you guys. And I'll see you back here again Friday night for stream number 3. See you tomorrow night.